Fantasy Philosophers is brought to you by fantasy-info.com.
As soon as LeSean "Shady" McCoy was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles last season, it was thought that he was definitely going to make an indent on Brian Westbrook's fantasy value, as the two were probably going to play off and on in a running back committee as Brian was getting older. Well, as the season was drawing closer and we got into that early part of the season with Westbrook, obviously he had, health issues that were looming throughout the whole summer that was limiting his ability to even practice. So McCoy's value was getting stronger as we got closer to the season because Westbrook really wasn't being able to get conditioned. And then obviously the rabbit came out of the hat for Westbrook that obviously the concussion issues became a major problem and he really just wasn't there all that much for the team in 2009. With McCoy, he was the team starter for the most part there, but he really wasn't ready to make an indent for fantasy owners. And I think that really helped contribute as to why they were using Leonard Weaver, their fullback, more often. It seemed like they liked to give him more chances, and maybe in the red zone area they started using him. He wasn't a great effective running back, or full player for them for touchdowns per se, but still, it was limiting McCoy's value. They just didn't really give him over the full reins, and that's evident by the 155 carries that he had for the full season. He had a 4.1 yard per carry average, 4 rushing touchdowns, 4 overall touchdowns, really. He did have 40 receptions, which is really nice to see from the young guy. He's got good hands, and they like to use their running backs out of the backfield because they are a pass-heavy first offense in that West Coast. That's going to continue this season. They did bring in Mike Bell after they let go of Brian Westbrook this offseason. They brought in Mike Bell, who did limit Pierre Thomas some last season because he did have some effective running, especially early on when Pierre was out. So with McCoy, I am a little concerned about Mike pinching off on him this season, but make no mistake about it, LeSean should see, I would think, around 250 carries this year. So he should be projected out to get another 100 carries in there, and that should help him squeeze over probably 1,000 yards rushing if he continues to have the yard per carry average that he had before. The team has raved about how he's looked so much better in OTAs this year. I know he had, I believe it was an ankle injury in OTAs, but that's neither here nor there for his fantasy value this season as long as that gets healed up. They've been cautious with him in that regard, so he's got plenty of time to get healthy there. But he did look like the light bulb was coming on. He looked much more explosive. I know he credited that he was in better shape. For rookies, it's tough because they go through so much before the draft. They're now with you got a year under your belt, and you've also got a whole offseason to just focus on getting yourself better, watching film of how you played. It's a whole different situation when you walk into your second season as opposed to your first. So with McCoy, he should have more explosion this year. I am concerned that the Eagles do have on paper the hardest schedule to run against this season. They have a good schedule against the pass, but they have the hardest schedule to run against. So that limits him. I think Mike Bell's presence limits him some, but still he makes for a very nice flex play option for your team. I wouldn't trust him enough just yet to be a number 2 type guy for your team. I think that's rolling the dice a little bit too much there on a guy that we need to see more from in a pass-heavy offense.
For more fantasy football information, go to fantasy-info.com and sign up for our free e-newsletter. Good luck in your 2010 Fantasy Football League. As an added bonus, the Fantasy Info guys will include their 5 secret tips for success in